In football, moments of triumph and collapse often come down to a single heartbeat. A snap, a kick, a breath held by an entire stadium. For the Cleveland Browns, that heartbeat came in the final seconds. And once again, it stopped in heartbreak. The stage was set for redemption. The crowd roared, the scoreboard balanced on a knife's edge, and victory felt close enough to taste. All it took was one kick, one chance to silence years of doubt, and finally prove the Browns could close the deal. Instead, the football sailed wide, slicing through the night air and cutting straight into the soul of a city tired of watching dreams unravel. The cameras turned instantly to the villain of the night, a rookie kicker. Helmet in his hands, shoulders collapsing under the weight of failure. In Cleveland, one play can make you a hero, and one mistake can define your career. This was supposed to be the ending. Another chapter in a book fans were sick of reading. But then, something happened that no one expected. Through the chaos, through the booze, through the sinking silence, a figure emerged. Not a veteran, not the coach, not even the winning quarterback. It was Shedeur Sanders, the rookie backup, the son of Coach Prime, a player who didn't even take a snap that night. And in that moment, as the stadium drowned in despair, Sanders walked straight to the kicker, placed a hand on his shoulder, and did something the entire NFL is still talking about. He didn't scold. He didn't lecture. He lifted. What unfolded wasn't just leadership. It was a glimpse of something bigger. A rookie rewriting the role of what leadership in football can look like. Let's be absolutely clear about what the cameras caught. Shedeur Sanders, a rookie backup quarterback, crossed the sideline in the aftermath of one of Cleveland's most brutal collapses and went directly to console the kicker, who had just cost the team the game. He wasn't the star of the night. He hadn't thrown a pass, hadn't orchestrated a drive, hadn't even touched the football. Yet when the Browns needed someone to step forward in the darkest moment, it wasn't the head coach. It wasn't the veterans. It wasn't the captains. It was Sanders. He wrapped an arm around the kicker, leaned in, and spoke words we couldn't hear but didn't need to. The cameras zoomed in close enough to capture the truth on his face. Compassion, steadiness, leadership. This wasn't a highlight. It wasn't a touchdown. It wasn't a trophy lifted high. But in that quiet, human gesture, Sanders made more noise than any play could. And that's the confirmation. Yes, the Browns lost in heartbreaking fashion. Yes, another chance slipped away. But out of that wreckage came the moment that defined the night, the image that went viral, the gesture that every sports desk in America replayed the next morning. Shedeur Sanders didn't just comfort a teammate. He claimed a role. He revealed that even as a rookie, even as a backup, even as a player still waiting for his NFL moment, he already has the instincts of a leader. On the surface, it might look simple. A quarterback walking over to console a teammate who just missed the biggest kick of his young career. But in the NFL, that isn't simple at all. This is a league where rookies are expected to stay quiet, keep their heads down, and earn respect the hard way, through reps, stats, and years of proving themselves. Leadership, that belongs to the veterans, to the guys with playoff scars and locker room seniority. But what happened in Cleveland broke that unwritten rule. Shedeur Sanders wasn't the star of the game. He wasn't even the starter. Yet in the most crushing moment of the season, he didn't hesitate to step into a role that wasn't supposed to be his. And that's why this moment is different. It wasn't just an arm around a teammate. It was a rookie quarterback rewriting the script, showing that leadership isn't about snaps played or games started. It's about presence. It's about instinct. It's about knowing when your team needs more than X's and O's. NFL sidelines are usually defined by hierarchy. Coaches at the top, veterans beneath them, rookies at the bottom. But in that moment, as cameras caught Sanders standing tall, while veterans stayed frozen, the hierarchy flipped. What we saw wasn't just compassion. It was a glimpse of a new order, one where the rookie didn't wait his turn to lead. He just led. If you think this was just a sideline moment, the numbers say otherwise. Within hours, the clip of Shedeur Sanders consoling his kicker exploded online. On Twitter, it passed 4 million views overnight, with hashtags like #BrownsCollapse and #ShedurStepsUp trending nationwide. ESPN's official account reposted the footage, and by sunrise, it had become the most watched clip of the NFL weekend. On TikTok, the moment took on a life of its own. Fans set it to dramatic music, captioning it with lines like, "That's leadership," and "This is why Coach Prime raised him different." One edit cleared 1.2 million likes in less than 24 hours. Talk radio lit up too. In Cleveland, callers weren't just angry at the loss, they were stunned by what they had seen. One lifelong fan summed it up perfectly. "The Browns keep breaking my heart, but for the first time in years, I saw a leader on that field. And it wasn't the head coach." Even the money told the story. NFL shop searches for Sanders Browns jersey spiked by 35% overnight. And Browns Bengals ticket resale prices ticked up as fans wanted to witness what Sanders would do next. So the proof is undeniable. Millions of views, viral edits across platforms, fans reframing the narrative of the game, merch and ticket sales responding instantly. The Browns may have lost, but Shedeur Sanders walked away as the night's only winner. And the data backs it up. By Monday morning, Shedeur Sanders' sideline moment wasn't just a highlight, it was the headline. ESPN led with it on Get Up, where analysts replayed the clip frame by frame, debating what it meant for the Browns' locker room. On First Take, Stephen A. Smith didn't even bother with the missed kick. Instead, he thundered about Sanders. That right there is leadership. That's presence. That's what this franchise has been missing for years. Fox Sports pushed it even further. Undisputed framed it as a battle of optics. Stefanski looking defeated at the podium. Sanders steady on the sideline. One network graphic put it bluntly: the rookie who led without playing. Even local Cleveland stations picked up the story. Columnists called it the most important Browns moment of the season, not because of the scoreboard, but because of the symbolism. And podcasts ran wild with it. Browns fan shows, national NFL pods, even college football voices pointing out that Sanders' leadership DNA looked eerily similar to his father's, Coach Prime. Social media amplified the noise. Memes spread showing Sanders with captions like, "The real captain now," or "Coach on the field without the headset." What should have been another sad Cleveland loss turned into a viral narrative about a rookie rewriting the culture. That's the media engine. One quiet act multiplied into millions of impressions, endless debate, and a new storyline the league itself couldn't control. The NFL runs on hierarchy. Veterans earn their stripes. Coaches command the locker room. Rookies, they're supposed to keep quiet, learn, and wait their turn. That order is what keeps franchises stable, what keeps egos in check, what lets ownership sleep at night. But Shedeur Sanders shattered that order without even throwing a pass. When he stepped toward the devastated kicker, it wasn't just an act of kindness, it was a silent announcement. I don't need to wait to lead. I already am a leader. And that's what makes the league nervous. Because if one rookie can seize that role in front of millions, what's stopping others from doing the same? The fear isn't about Sanders comforting a teammate. It's about the precedent. Coaches spend years trying to establish themselves as the authority. But Sanders showed that authority can come from presence, influence, and brand, not just a headset or a whistle. And here's the dangerous part. Fans bought it. Social media crowned Sanders the true captain of the Browns overnight. The media ran with the narrative. Even his teammates didn't push back. Many echoed it. The league doesn't fear a viral clip. It fears the shift in perception. The realization that leadership is no longer handed down by hierarchy, but claimed in the moment. For a system built on control, that shift is terrifying. Because once players realize they can rewrite the rules of leadership, there's no putting that genie back in the bottle. The clip didn't just stay in Cleveland. It traveled fast. Across NFL locker rooms, players were sharing the video in group chats. Some laughed, others nodded. But the message was clear. This is what leadership looks like. And it came from a rookie. For younger players, it was a revelation. If Sanders could step into that role without seniority or stats, then maybe they could too. Agents picked up on it as well. Within days, whispers started in front offices. Rookies weren't just athletes anymore. They were personalities, brands, and in some cases, voices stronger than their coaches. One NFL agent put it bluntly on a podcast. That's not a backup quarterback. That's the face of a franchise in the making. Even college athletes noticed. On campuses across the country, the Sanders clip became a teaching moment. Coaches told recruits about discipline and patience. But players were talking about influence, about how leadership can be claimed in a single moment, no matter your rank. And the media only fanned the flames. Talk shows asked, should more young players be captains right away? Twitter debates spun into thousands of replies. Even rival fan bases admitted, the Browns may have lost, but Sanders gave them something rare: hope. That's the contagion effect. One act of compassion turned into a wave of copycats, conversations, and new expectations. It only takes one spark to show everyone else that the fire can spread. The NFL has always been a pyramid. At the top, owners. Just beneath them, coaches. And at the very bottom, rookies. The silent labor, the unproven, the ones expected to follow orders before they ever give them. But in that single sideline moment, Shedeur Sanders flipped the pyramid upside down. He wasn't the starter. He wasn't even in the box score. Yet his presence carried more weight than the men paid millions to lead. Cameras didn't chase the head coach. They didn't focus on the veterans. They locked on to Sanders. Because in that moment, he was the story. That inversion is the real shock. Leadership in the NFL isn't supposed to flow upward from a rookie. But Sanders showed it can. Not through a stat line, not through a trophy, but through influence. The kind of influence that makes millions of fans nod and say, "That's the guy I believe in." For years, the league's order has been clear. Coaches command, veterans echo, rookies learn. Now, for the first time, a rookie commanded, the media echoed, and even the veterans stayed quiet. That's not just leadership. That's power. And once the pyramid tips, the NFL can't easily set it back upright. If what Shedeur Sanders did on that sideline feels revolutionary for football, that's only because the NFL has spent decades pretending it was immune to the forces shaping every other sport. In the NBA, LeBron James shattered the old hierarchy years ago. He wasn't just a player. He was a brand, a business, a voice bigger than many of the coaches who tried to draw up plays for him. When LeBron speaks, franchises pivot. When he moves, entire markets shift. He turned the model upside down. Coaches don't just coach him. They collaborate with him, negotiate with him, even defer to him. In soccer, Cristiano Ronaldo did the same on a global scale. With hundreds of millions of followers, his presence often outweighed the clubs he joined. Teams didn't just sign him for goals. They signed him for visibility, sponsorship, cultural power. When Ronaldo furrowed his brow at a coach, the story wasn't about tactics. It was about control. And now, the NFL has its own glimpse of that reality. Shedeur Sanders didn't have to play a snap. He didn't have to score or break records. By stepping in at the lowest moment of his team's season, he showed that his influence, his ability to shape the narrative, command attention, and inspire belief is already bigger than his stat sheet. What LeBron did for basketball, and Ronaldo did for global football, Sanders may have just ignited in the NFL. And for a league built on control, that's the last kind of influence they wanted to see. The NFL now stands at a crossroads, and the choice it makes will define the next decade of the league. Option A, adapt. Embrace the new reality. Accept that players like Shedeur Sanders arrive not just as rookies, but as ready-made leaders with platforms bigger than some franchises. Let them have a voice in culture, in branding, in the way teams are represented. If the league adapts, it shows humility, and it gains the energy of a new generation of fans who follow athletes more than teams. Option B, resist. Pretend this moment was nothing. Clamp down. Reassert the old order. Rookies keep quiet. Coaches rule. Veterans decide the tone. If the league resists, it protects its old hierarchy, but risks looking out of touch in a world where fans already see players as larger than life. Either way, the math doesn't change. The Browns' heartbreaking loss should have been the headline. Instead, Shedeur Sanders, a rookie who didn't even take a snap, became the story. And if that can happen once, it can happen again. The NFL can adapt and share the spotlight, or it can resist and watch its grip on culture loosen. But what it can't do anymore is deny that the spotlight has already shifted. When Shedeur Sanders put his arm around that kicker, no one in authority rushed to stop him. The head coach didn't step in. The veterans didn't wave him off. The NFL didn't issue a statement about rookies knowing their place. Instead, the silence was deafening. And in that silence, a blueprint was born. Agents took notes. Future draft prospects clipped the video. College coaches whispered about it in recruiting meetings. The lesson was simple. You don't have to wait for permission to lead. The moment you act like a leader, people will follow. That's how precedents are made. The Browns thought they were cleaning up another heartbreaking collapse. Instead, they gave the league a new reference point. Now, the next time a young star steps out of line with tradition, people will say, "Remember when Sanders consoled the kicker?" That wasn't just accepted, it was celebrated. And once a precedent is celebrated, it becomes a playbook. Not written in ink, but in perception. A rookie doesn't need years of sweat equity anymore. He just needs a moment that shows he can lead, and the world will anoint him. For the NFL, that's the loudest part of this story. The quiet approval created a blueprint that players across the league, and those still waiting to enter it, will now try to follow. The NFL has a standard playbook for uncomfortable stories. Contain, spin, move on. A quick statement from a coach, a few sound bites in the locker room, and by the next week's kickoff, the narrative is buried. But this time, the containment playbook doesn't work. Why? Because the system has already been exposed. The clip of Shedeur Sanders consoling his teammate isn't just archived, it's everywhere. Millions of fans saved it, shared it, memed it, and elevated it into something bigger than the game itself. You can't erase a moment once it becomes a symbol. And this wasn't just about optics. It was about who acted and who didn't. Fans saw veterans staring at the ground. They saw Stefanski frozen on the sideline. They saw Sanders, the rookie, the backup, the supposed nobody, step forward when nobody else did. That contrast doesn't disappear. It lingers. Even worse for the league, the narrative has escaped its control. Podcasters, influencers, and independent outlets are already telling the story their way. ESPN and Fox can spin it, but TikTok and Twitter will keep reposting the raw clip with captions like, "The real leader in Cleveland." Containment only works when the system owns the story. But this time, the system lost control in real time. The NFL can't walk this back, because the people have already decided what they saw. A rookie exposing a vacuum of leadership that the league would rather pretend doesn't exist. For decades, the NFL's transaction was simple. Teams offered money, players accepted. Respect wasn't guaranteed, influence wasn't granted, and rookies were expected to buy in quietly until they earned a seat at the table. But Shedeur Sanders' sideline moment shifted the equation. When a rookie backup can overshadow veterans, command headlines, and reshape the narrative of a crushing loss without throwing a single pass, it proves that the currency of the league is no longer just dollars. It's presence, it's influence, it's leadership in moments that can't be scripted. Now, the question for young stars entering the NFL isn't just, how big is the contract? It's, what kind of partnership are you offering? They'll want a voice in the locker room. They'll want input in culture, in branding, even in how they're represented to the world. And if they don't get it, they know their influence off the field can rival the power of the teams themselves. Money still matters, but it's no longer enough. The new offer must include respect, acknowledgement, and shared control. Shedeur didn't demand it with words. He proved it with action. And that proof may become the standard every new generation of players brings to the negotiation table. For college athletes, the message was impossible to miss. In the NIL era, where players are already building brands and earning millions before their first pro snap, Sanders' sideline moment sent a powerful signal that brand power doesn't disappear once you reach the NFL. It only grows. High school recruits scrolling through their feeds didn't just see a rookie quarterback, they saw a blueprint. They saw proof that if you carry yourself like a leader, the cameras will find you, the fans will crown you, and even the veterans will step aside. College coaches used to preach patience. Wait your turn. Respect the ladder. But now, players can point to Sanders and say, he didn't wait. Why should I? And it's not just quarterbacks. Wide receivers, linebackers, even special teams players. Anyone with a following, anyone with presence, knows they can seize leadership before a snap is even played. NIL deals have already blurred the lines between amateur and professional. Sanders blurred them further by showing that influence travels with you, from Boulder to Cleveland, from Saturdays to Sundays. The ripple is clear. Future rookies won't just arrive in the NFL with talent. They'll arrive with leverage, with expectations, with the confidence that they can command a franchise's attention the moment they step in the building. The old progression, high school, then college, then earn your stripes in the league, is fading. The new progression is brand, presence, and leadership from day one. And thanks to Sanders, that ripple is spreading faster than the league can contain. For years, the NFL thrived by having it both ways. It controlled the players with strict hierarchies, rigid contracts, and an unshakable culture of know your place. And it stayed relevant by selling the spectacle, the drama, the personalities, the heroes and villains fans couldn't stop watching. But Shedeur Sanders' sideline moment showed the league a brutal truth. You can't maximize both anymore. If the NFL wants to preserve control, it has to silence stories like this, push rookies back into the shadows, and remind everyone who's in charge. But the moment it does that, it risks losing the very thing fans crave: authenticity. Fans don't fall in love with sanitized hierarchies. They fall in love with raw emotion, unscripted leadership, and stories that feel bigger than the scoreboard. On the other hand, if the NFL embraces relevance, if it allows rookies and stars alike to lead loudly, to shape narratives, to command attention, then it chips away at the authority that's kept the machine running for decades. Control weakens, hierarchies blur, and coaches look more like facilitators than generals. That's the math, and it's inescapable. Control or relevance. You can pick one. You can't have both. Shedeur didn't make that choice for the league, but his presence forced the league to confront it. And every viral clip, every fan debate, every jersey sold in his name pushes the NFL further towards the edge of that equation. The Browns may have lost the game, but the league lost something bigger, the illusion that it still controls every story. It was just a single gesture, a rookie quarterback crossing the sideline, placing a hand on a teammate's shoulder. No touchdowns, no highlight reels, just a quiet moment in the middle of another Cleveland collapse. And yet, that gesture may be remembered as the spark that changed everything. Because Shedeur Sanders didn't just console a kicker, he exposed a vacuum of leadership and filled it. He didn't wait for a captain's badge. He didn't need permission. He acted. And the cameras, the fans, the league all took notice.